He claims he found a coffin containing a skeleton of the girl born Princess Elizabeth.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most fascinating and far-fetched claims that suggest there's more to some of history's most famous people than meets the eye.
Petter's cryptological research has led him to believe that the works of William Shakespeare were actually produced by this man.
Number 20. Paul McCartney is dead. In 1969, the Paul is dead conspiracy theory emerged, alleging that the famed Beatle had died in a 1966 car accident and was secretly replaced by a look-alike.
So this started some rumor that because he was barefooted, he's dead.
Proponents pointed to supposed clues in the Beatles' work. The Abbey Road album cover depicted a funeral procession with McCartney barefoot and out of step. The license plate 28IF suggested he would have been 28 if alive.
The myth suggests the Beatles planted clues to Paul's death in their songs and album art to break the news gently.
Strawberry Fields Forever was also cited, as some listeners claimed to hear John Lennon confessing to having, quote-unquote, buried Paul. McCartney humorously addressed these rumors, stating, quote, "If I were dead, I'd be the last to know." He later parodied the theory with his 1993 live album titled Paul is Live.
People did start looking at me like...
Number 19. Merryweather Lewis's death. In 1809, the famed co-leader of the Lewis and Clark expedition died from gunshot wounds at Grinder's Stand along Natchez Trace in Tennessee.
Unfortunately, that glory would be short-lived for Merryweather Lewis. Several years later, he would be found dead at a roadside inn in Tennessee.
No one actually saw what happened, and while many believe Lewis had taken his own life, others suspected foul play. As the isolated location was notorious for bandits, some believe that Lewis was killed during a robbery.
If someone was trying to pull off a professional hit, the Natchez Trace seems like the perfect place.
Other theories implicate political adversaries, such as General James Wilkinson and Aaron Burr, suggesting Lewis was assassinated. Although a coroner's jury ruled Lewis had died by his own hand, debates continue due to conflicting testimonies and lack of definitive evidence.
These results may have just rewritten the entire legacy of Merryweather Lewis.
Number 18. Enoch Lincoln's missing body. The famed politician who was Maine's 6th governor and a distant relative of Abraham Lincoln died in 1829 and was interned in a mausoleum in Augusta's Capitol Park. However, during an inspection roughly 150 years after Lincoln's death, workers discovered that his body and casket were missing, with no official explanation available. Numerous explanations have been proposed. Some suggest the remains were removed for cleaning and never returned, while others propose he was never buried there at all. The fate of Lincoln's body ranks among Maine's most enduring mysteries, not unlike something out of a Stephen King novel. Number 17. Oliver Cromwell was never dug up. After this English statesman's death in 1658, he was buried in an extravagant funeral at Westminster Abbey. Following the Restoration in 1660, a vengeful King Charles II ordered Cromwell's body exhumed for a posthumous execution. The body was reportedly hanged and then beheaded, with the head displayed on a spike above Westminster Hall.
It was an ignominious end for a man who'd wanted to create God's kingdom on earth.
Yet some historians question whether the body exhumed was truly Cromwell's. Rumors suggest his remains were secretly reburied elsewhere or even submerged in the Thames to prevent desecration. The authenticity of the head displayed has also been debated, with some believing it was not Cromwell's. The true fate of Cromwell's body remains a subject of historical intrigue.
What this proud, God-fearing man would have made of this can only be guessed at.
Number 16. Princess Diana was murdered. When word spread that the Princess of Wales had died in 1997, people around the world mourned her untimely demise.
A short while ago, Buckingham Palace confirmed the death of Diana, Princess of Wales.
But some wondered if there was more at work here than just an unfortunate accident. Namely, the father of Diana's companion Dodi Fayed, who was also killed in the crash, stated that the British royal family orchestrated the accident to prevent Diana from marrying his son.
You believe there was a conspiracy to kill Dodi?
They've been murdered.
These allegations prompted Operation Paget, a comprehensive police inquiry, which concluded that there was no credible evidence of a conspiracy. Nevertheless, speculation about foul play continues to captivate public imagination.
The letter alleged that a fellow Special Ops soldier told his wife their unit orchestrated the princess's death and cover-up.
Number 15. Gregori Rasputin's demise. This infamous Russian mystic is as well known for the eerie circumstances of his death as for his influence over the Romanovs.
He's a superhuman force of evil at the heart of the monarchy.
In December 1916, a group of nobles conspired to assassinate Rasputin. According to one account, he survived poisoning and multiple gunshots before finally succumbing to his injuries.
At this point, Yusupov becomes impatient, goes to his office, collects a pistol, comes down again, shoots Rasputin twice.
However, modern forensic evaluations suggest Rasputin died from a single gunshot wound to the head, with no evidence of poisoning or drowning. The bizarre nature of Rasputin's demise has left ample room for theories, including ideas that he faked his death or even possessed supernatural resilience. One thing's for sure, Rasputin remains one of history's most perplexing figures.
Rasputin's body was later exhumed and burned by the revolutionaries as a symbol of the complete annihilation of Russian imperial government.
Number 14. Rudolph Diesels' disappearance. The inventor of the diesel engine met a mysterious death in 1913 while aboard a ship traveling from Belgium to England. Diesel vanished without a trace, and his body was later found floating in the sea.
There were strange circumstances surrounding his disappearance and death, which encouraged conspiracy theories.
While most believe Diesel took his own life, some wonder whether he may have been killed due to his controversial ideas about alternative energy sources, which threatened the oil industry. Others argue that he was involved in a larger international conspiracy involving the German government. But the true cause of Diesel's death remains unsolved, fueling intrigue over his untimely demise.
There's little evidence, however, and the case remains unsolved.
Number 13. Elvis Presley faked his death. When you're as iconic as Elvis, it's no surprise that rumors of your demise would spark decades of speculation.
It was August 16th, 1977, and the world was shocked by the news. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, was dead.
While official records confirm that Presley died in 1977 at his Graceland estate, some believe the king staged his death to escape the pressures of fame. Sightings of Elvis have been reported across the U.S., including a particularly persistent claim that he was spotted at a Burger King in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Is Elvis Presley alive? Our third sighting took place in August of 1988 in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Others point to supposed inconsistencies in his autopsy and the misspelling of his middle name on his gravestone. Though various theories about Elvis's death have propped up over the years, we think it's pretty safe to say that he's left the building.
To Presley's near and dear, there is a cruelness to all the credence lent to the stories of Elvis still being alive.
Number 12. The Jimmy Hoffa case. When Labor leader Jimmy Hoffa vanished in 1975, he left behind one of the biggest question marks in American history.
He was often called the most powerful man in America, and his disappearance remains one of this century's greatest unsolved mysteries.
The former Teamsters president was last seen outside the Machus Red Fox restaurant in Michigan, reportedly waiting for a meeting with mob affiliates. Naturally, Hoffa's disappearance prompted extensive investigations, but no definitive answers were ever found.
Hoffa is now sailing on a beautiful vessel off the Greek Isles, laughing at us all.
Some believe he was murdered to prevent him from regaining power within the Union, while others suspect a mafia hit gone awry. Over the years, searches in fields, landfills, and even beneath stadiums have come up empty. With no body and no closure, your guess as to what happened to Hoffa is as good as ours.
They are hoping to find the remains of Jimmy Hoffa out here.
Number 11. Jesus was married. If you've read or seen the Da Vinci Code, you know all about this off-the-wall legend.
Smeared by the church in 591 Anno Domini Pud. Magdalene was Jesus' wife.
Some have said that Jesus Christ was secretly married to Mary Magdalene, pointing to apocryphal texts like the Gospel of Philip, which refers to Mary as Jesus' close companion. In 2012, the controversial Gospel of Jesus' Wife papyrus briefly reignited debate, though experts later declared it a modern forgery.
Containing the phrase, Jesus said to them, my wife, although the document was written centuries after Jesus died.
Despite a lack of evidence, the theory lingers, with some claiming the early church buried the truth to preserve celibacy ideals. While mainstream scholars dismiss the claim, the idea of a hidden bloodline has fueled endless speculation and pop culture fascination.
I don't think that there's any credibility in these claims at all.
Number 10.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination.
Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee.
Murdered in Memphis, Tennessee, civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s death has long been the subject of many conspiracy theories. His alleged assassin, James Earl Ray, recanted his confession soon after his conviction.
Dexter asks Ray if he killed his father. James Earl Ray responds with a simple no.
In addition, evidence of illegal surveillance of King by government agencies, including the FBI and the local police department, have led many to conclude that King may have been killed for political reasons.
A number of people were concerned that the FBI or somebody connected to the FBI had a hand in Dr. King's death.
The jury of a 1999 civil suit concluded as much, though a lack of evidence made definitive proof elusive. Other potential culprits include Southern white supremacy groups. Whoever was responsible, it's heartening to know that while they may have killed the man, his message lives on.
Larger than life one moment, a martyr the next.
Number 9. Nikola Tesla's death ray. A genius inventor ahead of his time in many ways, Nikola Tesla developed many ideas that would pave the way for the 20th and 21st centuries. However, one of his most elusive inventions was for a particle beam weapon, which the press called a death ray. Tesla claimed it would draw power from the ionosphere and had a range of 200 miles.
Tesla theorized this weapon of his could take out military aircraft 250 miles away.
However, the device remained mysterious and unseen. Upon his death in 1943, many of Tesla's papers and research were taken by the federal government, leading some to suggest that the US or various European governments may have gotten their hands on the plans for this weapon.
Many of the journals and documents stolen the night of his death are never found.
If someone does have such a powerful weapon, why it hasn't seen widespread use in the years since is anyone's guess.
Mystery still surrounds the lab at Wardenclyffe.
Number 8. John Dillinger's supposed death. A notorious gangster in the early 20th century, John Dillinger was decreed as public enemy number 1 in the USA. However, some contend that he was not killed by the FBI outside a theater, as has been claimed.
But a federal agent beat him to the draw and sent a bullet crashing through his skull to emerge beneath the right eye.
According to autopsy reports, Dillinger's corpse differed from his appearance in several ways. Granted, the gangster had received plastic surgery to conceal his identity, but still, it suggested that Dillinger may have faked his death, or else the FBI attempted to cover up their murder of an innocent man.
Dillinger's eyes were blue-gray. The dead man had brown eyes.
Some people have claimed to have met Dillinger after his death. Dillinger's relatives even sought to have his body exhumed to confirm his identity. Still, they were denied, which means the conspiracy remains just a theory.
We just want some closure and find the truth.
Number 7. Queen Elizabeth's gender. Queen Elizabeth I of England was highly regarded both in her own time and in hindsight as an excellent ruler. The conspiracy theory that she was actually replaced by a man at some point in her life is indicative of how ingrained gender roles were in Elizabethan society. That even the Queen herself could not be seen as powerful without some questioning it. Even so, there are still some interesting aspects to this strange theory.
May not have been a woman at all, but a man.
One story suggests that the real Elizabeth died while at a village called Bisley and that she was replaced with a young boy to avoid the ire of King Henry VIII.
They'll substitute a local child for the dead princess.
Her reputation as the Virgin Queen, her use of wigs, and her habit of wearing tall ruffs are cited as evidence of this wild theory. Although it's unlikely, given how much Elizabeth was in the public eye, Bram Stoker, author of Dracula, apparently believed it.
The popular and well-regarded author devotes an entire chapter to the Bisley story.
Number 6. Lewis Carroll and Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is one of history's most famous serial killers, in part because his identity has never been proven.
The Ripper murders, as they would be known by the world for the next 120 years, had begun.
With so many candidates for the Ripper, including American murderer H.H. Holmes, it's hardly surprising that one of them ended up being famous. Still, Lewis Carroll, author of books like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, is an odd choice, although he admittedly is no stranger to controversy.
He was dry, methodical, punctilious.
Richard Wallace pointed to supposed evidence that Carroll was abused as a suggestion that he had had a psychotic break and became a killer. He also pointed to anagrams in some of Carroll's writings as confessions to the Ripper crimes. Wallace's own words have been turned into an anagram confessing similarly serious crimes, so the evidence is pretty flimsy.
We have various bits of evidence which can be twisted and turned and shaped in different ways, but ultimately it comes down to what do we think was going on inside his head.
Number 5. Emperor Nero's burning of Rome. In July of 64 AD, 2/3 of Rome was destroyed in the Great Fire of Rome.
The city is an inferno.
While popularly believed to be caused by arson, the culprit is a matter of some debate. Some historians, many of whom are the only sources for information on the fire, blame Nero, Rome's emperor at the time. Motives have ranged from wanting to put up new palaces to just wanting to watch it all burn while he sang and danced.
Legend says that as Rome burned, Nero sat on his balcony, singing the fall of Troy, with the city suffering as his backdrop.
Regardless of whether Nero was the culprit, he laid the blame on the Christians in the city, leading to their persecution. Were they a convenient scapegoat for his own crime, or were they implicated due to existing prejudices? Short of a time machine, we may never know.
Nero proudly boasts to his friends that at last he can live like a man.
Number 4. William Shakespeare's identity. William Shakespeare wrote some of the most well-known plays and poetry in history, or did he?
We know perfectly well that Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. We have the unimpugnable historical evidence.
The playwright's success has led to a lot of scrutiny, and some believe that Shakespeare may have been a front or pseudonym for another writer entirely. Proponents point to the bard's middle-class background being inconsistent with his highly literate and witty plays, his name's inconsistent spelling, a lack of documentary evidence, and his decidedly mundane will.
There are monuments that hail his achievements, and we have comments from people who knew him as a writer.
Candidates for the bard's true identity include as many as 80 different candidates, with the most popular being Sir Francis Bacon, Edward de Vere, and fellow playwright Christopher Marlowe. We're not sure if this theory is to be or not to be, but we'd sure like this question settled.
Why would Shakespeare have allowed himself to be used as a front for these people, especially if he was capable, apparently, of writing most of the plays by himself?
Number 3. JFKs Assassination. One of the most famous incidents of the last 100 years, President John F. Kennedy's public assassination in Dallas, Texas in 1963 has launched countless theories of a conspiracy.
Even though a plaque on this very building still encourages us to doubt. And doubt they do.
Lee Harvey Oswald was the prime suspect, but his subsequent murder, along with the belief that a second shooter may have been present, has led many to conclude that there is more to the event than initially appears. Suspected players have ranged from the Soviet Union to the CIA to organized crime.
There are lots of theories. It was Castro, the Mafia, the Soviets, the CIA, you name it.
No matter who it was on that grassy knoll, conspiracy theorists and pop culture in general have had a field day putting their own spin on the president's death.
There are other still photographs taken from other locations in Dealey Plaza which show the whole man standing under an open black umbrella.
Number 2. Amelia Earhart's true fate. In 1937, Amelia Earhart and her co-pilot Fred Noonan attempted to circumnavigate the world, but disappeared after departing New Guinea.
Fred, I don't see Howard Island.
I don't know where it is. We should be right on top of it.
It's not on my side.
Earhart's disappearance has long fascinated the public consciousness. While the most commonly believed answer is that her plane went down over the Pacific, plenty of people believe there's more to the story. Some suggest that she landed on an island which she was unable to escape from. Others believe that she was taken prisoner by the Japanese.
The Japanese soldiers brought the spies into town.
Most strange of all are the beliefs that she was a spy or assumed another identity. Still, without proof, we'll never know where or even if Earhart came down.
She remains a true hero, as inspiring in failure as she might have been had she succeeded.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Number 1. Abraham Lincoln's assassination. John Wilkes Booth, a famous stage actor and Confederate sympathizer, assassinated President Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater in 1865. Although Booth is known to have acted with other conspirators to try to kill other top members of the government the same night, there are those who believe a larger scheme was at work. In the years since Lincoln's death, conspiracy theorists have pointed to everyone from the Confederates to members of Lincoln's own government to a cabal of international bankers.
Booth's murder of President Abraham Lincoln is only part of the story.
While there are plenty who likely wanted the president dead, whether they acted with Booth is a matter of speculation at this point.
It was essentially to accomplish what the Confederacy had failed to accomplish on the battlefield.
Could any of these far-fetched ideas be true? Let's talk about it in the comments.
Flames spread from neighborhood to neighborhood, devouring everything in sight.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.